Hi guys, welcome back to SwitchUp. It's time to give away another free game, so be sure to leave a comment and let us know that you're down there. Thanks as always to our ever-growing merry band of Patreons, or is it patrons? I'm not sure. We now have 6 of you heroes on board the good ship SwitchUp. Harvest Life tries to take everything I loved about Stardew Valley and toss in the ability to do all of that with a friend, or in this case, my daughter. Does it manage this monumental of feats, or is this a complete farmyard disaster? Let's find out. Now the story will instantly sound familiar, very familiar. Your granddad has a farm, but he's just too old to run it anymore and make enough money to survive. I know, he thinks, I'll get my simple-minded nephew up here and he can run it for me while I bugger off to my luxury apartment in the countryside. He acts as a sort of mentor and guides at the beginning of the story, and despite saying he's going to leave, he just doesn't seem to want to leave. In fact, he just kind of freeloads off you and sits on the bench outside your house. Every day, little missions are given from him and some story snippets to keep the experience ticking over. You really do build your own legacy in this one, and the actual story is almost the journey to a large and successful farm. Story scores 11 out of 20. When you're dropped into the game, you design your character from a simplistic creation tool, choose your sex and your preference, which will affect the relationships you have in the game. You control your character with the left stick and move around a 3D isometric world. You can zoom in ridiculously close or pan the camera right out. Your inventory bar lives down the bottom of the screen, and contextual options are given for things such as planting crops. In your field, you select which plant you'd like to, water it, and then wait for it to grow. Animals are also available, and the default cows and chickens must be fed and watered daily. Failure to do so may lead to their untimely death, and also a lack of milk and eggs. Cows also seem to have a serious diarrhea issue, so expect to be collecting cow pats on a semi-regular basis. As well as planting crops, collecting eggs and milk, you can also go fishing. The mini-game here is a complete rip-off from Stardew Valley, except you can only get one type of fish. Where this game differentiates itself is by giving you a farm shop that you must keep stocked. People from the town will come out to your farm and purchase your wares through this method. You also need to keep yourself fed and use any excess food in your mulching machine to make animal feed. Mulching, like that word. This is powered with a machine which also acts as a mini-game when needing to be recharged. Chopping wood can be a good way of making some extra cash, but to get the best out of your wooden buck, you should chop it into firewood. This sells for almost triple the amount in the shop. Although the chopping mini-game does not give Fruit Ninja a run for its money. The farm expansion system is actually quite robust and gives you a top-down view of your land and allows you to add and delete many of the different elements. You can also purchase elements from within here if you have the available funds. Just as in other similar games, you can pay to expand the boundaries of your land. The quests given by your grandpa include things such as growing a certain number of crops, chopping wood, but will also send you to kill things like wolves in the forest. These were poor, and I mean poorly executed, and often just caused frustration due to the horrible and terribly limited combat. Now, the main town area has a shop and restaurant, and when playing in co-op will be where you first meet the other player. Their farm will be situated just north of yours, or south depending on who you're playing, but will also be inaccessible to begin with, blocked with fallen trees. As you earn money, you may pay to have this shortcut removed and allow for easier cooperation. Really, every aspect of the farming and expansion experience works well enough, even down to the survival elements like needing to eat and sleep. Where the game really excels is when playing with someone else. Everything is more compelling and both farms are saved, whether 2 of you are playing or it's just the one at any one time. Having my daughter help around the farm, collecting my crops, vandalizing my cows, and extorting my customers was a blast. And while her repeated neglect of my chickens was an ongoing struggle, being able to work together to then take the earnings and improve her farm was brilliant and, more importantly, very addictive. On days where it was raining, neither of us would need to water our crops, so we would spend that time fishing in the river or chopping wood. We planned out the expansion of our empire, and she would head off to her farm to go and sleep, usually telling me not to stay up too late, Daddy. It is perfect in co-op. The game isn't perfect, however, and the occasional minor glitch or jankiness, as I like to call it, such as one of my cows bugging out for the day and refusing to eat, either that or maybe Bella upset him, are there, but generally it runs and plays well. When the Stardew Valley multiplayer add-on hits the Switch though, damn, that's going to be great. But for me, gameplay is still very fun indeed, and I played my majority of my time in co-op. Without that, maybe take off a point. Gameplay scores 16 out of 20, and the controls, they're okay, they score 14 out of 20. Visually, the game doesn't look particularly great. It's not just the slightly poor models, as I can forgive those, it's the general last-gen nature of everything in the world. It all works okay, and there are times the game looks passable, such as in the house with the roaring fire. Everything is functional enough, and there is just a general lack of visual polish. Rarely did it detract from my enjoyment of the game though, but there are some hideous collision models and the combat is diabolical. Thank goodness these are only very small aspects of the gameplay. Character models and animations are mediocre and the weather effects are okay. Now, generally this isn't the type of game where visuals matter and performance is where the real key is. Performance here is okay for the most part actually, and in handheld it looks fine. While there are some catchy musical loops and they're pleasant enough, the overall auditory palette pales in comparison to many of the games we've reviewed recently. It is serviceable, but also the variety of music is lacking. I couldn't help but want more musical variety, as what is here is decent, there just needs to be more, so as to avoid the dreaded loop point, as I'm going to call it, or loop gate. Lacking any speech is fine, but games can do a lot to add character without actual voices. Unfortunately, nothing has really been done in this regard. On the bright side, the cow moos sound accurate, so yeah, not going to save the audio score though, is it? Visuals and audio score 13 out of 20. The game retails at £19.99, €24.99 and $29.99. Woo! This is a premium price tag. There are no two ways about it. Does the game seem to offer a premium experience? Well, no. Not really, not quite anyway. But wait, does it offer a fun experience? Yep, yeah, it definitely does. I've spent a good 10 hours building up my farm in co-op, and I cannot begin to tell you how much fun we've had. The gameplay loop is the epitome of repetition. Grow, harvest, sell, expand, grow, harvest, buy nice things, chop some wood, sell, expand. But boy, do they copy a formula that works. You just can't deny that, and having this experience so seamlessly cooperative is an unavoidable draw. At times it is clunky and that price is a little high. You certainly could get your hours out of it though. Value scores 14 out of 20. There are potentially hundreds of hours of gameplay, but I expect a certain level of polish as well. So that takes us on to the final verdict. The game has its flaws, most of which are plain to see just looking at the game for 5 seconds. What it also has is a decent chunk of charm, an addictive farming experience, fishing, dating, shopkeeping. There's even a little restaurant you can go and have a meal together. Missions are adequate, but my favourite is the co-op experience of doing it all with someone awesome. It scores 70%. If they'd just knocked that price in half, you'd be looking at an easy purchase. As it is, you'll need to be a real fan of the genre and/or really like the idea of the co-op, which is great to be fair. Now I'm off to rescue my chickens before she tries to milk them again. For all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. See ya!